who were affected by the more than 22,000 Australian prisoners of war, whose emaciated bodies marked cruel and unusual punishment that was coming from the Japanese. Bamboo under the fingernails, you know all of the stories because you may well have a family member who told them to you. Now tomorrow, the 15th, is the anniversary of the surrender from the Japanese. Now I refer to it as the defeat of the Japanese. And what has been incredible is the story between Australia and Japan in the 80s since horrible things were done to Australians. Now often we discuss things like intergenerational trauma, meaning the problems of today that can be linked back to horrific events of the past. But for some reason this is never applied to World War II. This is never applied to Vietnam. This is never applied to Korea. This is never applied to those prisoners of war. What is incredible about the story between a country that literally bombed and killed people here, as well as imprisoning football stadiums of soldiers and working them in many ways to their death, and of course the many thousands of people who died successfully repelling the Japanese, is that incredibly, just 12 years after that war, an Australian Prime Minister went to Japan. Robert Menzies, who many like to hold up, of course, because of his values when it comes to the Liberal Party, but they also say that it represents this particular period of time that was backward looking. Well, of course, he decided to go to Japan and to start to build what became normalised relations. Think about that, within 12 years of a war. Now, there are plenty of stories around the world to this day where the wars of hundreds of years ago are still being used as the justification for the anger that exists between countries. That anger does not exist anymore between Australia and Japan. In fact, Japan is well and truly considered a friend because it has become one. That Prime Minister was the first of many who has actually embraced Japanese leaders and been to Japan. Many of them over many decades, many who may well have been, of course, the sons and daughter of people who had fought in World War II. These are incredible signs about how we dealt with the immense tragedies. The immense tragedies that are marked by the end of World War II 80 years ago on the 15th. Japanese Prime Ministers had been to Australia, but amazingly it was only about 3 years ago that a Japanese Prime Minister was in Australia and went to Darwin specifically, 2018, that was about 7 years ago. What a moment to see Shinzo Abe, whose life sadly was taken just a couple of years ago, standing at the very site where, in a different era, at a different time, there was war. War that Japan was waging in Australia, and Australia was defending itself with such incredible cost. When Australia was in the middle of World War II, we didn't have 27 million people, the same as in World War I.